Well, major tech news after markets closed on Monday. Apple announcing that CEO Tim Cook would step down as of September 1st. Now, he's not going too far. He's going to transition over to the role of executive chairman, and Apple says he'll assist with engaging with policymakers around the world. His replacement is a man that had long been rumored to be taking over, John Ternus, Apple's senior vice president of hardware engineering. He will become Apple's next chief executive officer. Let's now go to a man who wrote the book on Apple. I mean it. Last month came out with the book Apple, The First 50 Years, and he's a correspondent for CBS Sunday Morning. The one, the only, David Pogue joins us again. Hi, David. Thanks for coming on today.
My pleasure.
Let's talk about Tim Cook. How successful was Tim Cook in his run as Apple CEO?
Oh, wow. I mean, from a corporate standpoint, incredibly successful. I mean, the profits and revenue quadrupled, the stock price tentupled, the size of the company tripled in terms of headcount. He's made the company just astronomically wealthy and successful, and done so without generating the kind of public hatred that Facebook and Google and some of the other big companies have generated.
So it's really interesting. And, when big stories like this come out, the naysayers also come out. They'll poo-poo anything. But I should bring it up on the question of how successful he was. You bring up the fact that he 10x'd Apple market cap wise. Very true. But I've seen people making this point, and it is true. Microsoft, same time period, 14x. Google, 20x. Amazon, 28x. Facebook, Meta, 35x. So it seems like all tech companies have been booming over that time period. Does that change your assessment at all on how successful Tim Cook has been?
No, I don't think so, because part of it, to me, is the poetic goal of remaining true to your roots, or true to the mission. I mean, Apple has never been caught, doing bad things with our data. It's never been caught being big polluters, these AI data centers the other companies have. They're even trying to go about AI the right way. The Apple AI will rewrite something that you've written, but it won't do your writing for you. It doesn't want to be in the business of kids cheating. So I really feel like they've tried to live their values, and I'm happy with the 10x increase in my stock.
So let me ask you about what comes next for Tim Cook, right, and his role as executive chairman. I took note, as I mentioned off the top, right, that the company says he's going to assist with certain aspects, including engaging with policymakers around the world. And I ask this as Donald Trump is more. You saw the Trump Truth Social on Tim Cook?
No, what did he say?
Well, man, so much praise. I have always been a big fan of Tim Cook, and likewise Steve Jobs. But if Steve was not taken from planet Earth so young and ran the company instead of Tim, the company would have done well, but nowhere near as well as it has done under Tim. He goes on, and he just talks about the times that Tim, it's a really long post, as you can imagine. And he says all these things about when Tim Cook would call and how he would act with the president. But during my 5 years as president, Tim would call me, but never too much, and I would help him where I could. And it's just glowing. And I wonder if you see Tim Cook sticking around in that role where he's been so successful dealing with Chinese authorities, European regulators, a Trump administration. Is that still the role for Tim Cook here?
I think that's, from what I see, I think that's the exclusive role, that he's going to remain, senior advisor in charge of, policy and these delicate negotiations. I think that's probably right. I don't know that John Ternus has much experience with that kind of delicate negotiation at all.
So let's talk about the new guy, new in the role for CEO come September 1st. Do you think that Apple needs an engineer right now at this point in time for the company? Do they need an engineer running the show?
I mean, I think what's cool is that Tim Cook was not an engineer at all. He was not a product guy, never pretended to be. He was a supply chain logistics nuts and bolts guy, brilliant at that. Ternus is in the Tim Cook mold in that he's a quiet, sort of shy, doesn't raise his voice kind of guy, a steady hand, detail-oriented. But he is also a product guy. He's been involved with every major Apple product since the iPad. So he's more of a product guy than Tim Cook. So it's kind of like you take a lot of Tim Cook and a little bit of Steve Jobs and stir them together, and you get John Ternus.
So is there anything from Ternus's history with Apple that gives you an indication on where he'll nudge the company? You know, all the products that he's worked on. I heard, you probably know better than I do, that he wasn't the biggest fan of the Vision Pro, the headset, wasn't the biggest fan of the car project, which Apple eventually shelved. Where do you think John Ternus takes this company?
I mean, both of those opinions bode well because both of those projects turn out not to work. We don't know, of course, and new products take years to develop, and most Apple products never actually see the light of day. They are developed internally. I'm sure that Ternus will continue with the iPhone Fold, the folding one that's supposed to come out this fall, and with the smart glasses that are scheduled to come out early next year. Those things are all underway. Beyond that, we can't really say. Let's just hope that he's able to steer the company into a better place with AI features. Apple in some ways has been very shrewd because they haven't spent the billions upon billions of dollars to develop their own data centers, and they didn't get into the "we'll pay you $2 billion" hiring craze that Meta and other companies have been. So maybe it'll turn out that they were really shrewd waiting this out.
If you had to critique Apple right now for things the company is either doing wrong or not handling as good as they could, you mentioned Siri, of course, we know there are issues with AI, but what would be your main criticisms of Apple that you'd like to see John Ternus handle?
Well, I think the idea they had for AI, which is not to create a chatbot like ChatGPT, but instead to make Siri this super-powered, wise, knowledgeable creature that knows about all your text messages and your emails and your files, all completely secure on your phone, of course. Apple demonstrated this 2 years ago, where you could just say, what time do I need to pick up my mom? And it knows what you mean because your email says she's coming for Thanksgiving, your text messages says what flight she's on, and it just says you need to leave at 1:30. So it demonstrated this 2 years ago, still hasn't delivered it, but the stock went up $200 billion that day. I think people are very excited about that. So the criticism is, where is it? They say they have a big announcement coming in June, so let's hope that's it.
There had been rumors here, David, this was coming, but at the end of were you surprised by how this happened?
No, it's been pretty clear for a long time that Ternus is going to be the guy. The last few public events, he's been the presenter. He's been the face of Apple. And for Cook, there are a lot of reasons why this is the time. I mean, there are some nice round numbers. He's been there exactly 15 years. This is the 50th anniversary. The stock is 10 times up. And he's been saying that he's exhausted. I mean, the man's a machine. He gets up at 4 a.m. He is at the gym by 5. He's at the desk by 6 a.m. and he works long into the night. I can see why he might like a little relaxation time. And also, he's had some PR problems lately. The Trump stuff, very shrewd to manipulate Trump into avoiding the tariffs, but not a good look for fans who thought that Cook should have stuck to his personal convictions, which are nothing like Trump's.
Yeah, and I know it's caused internal strife with employees on that end, too. David, listen, we got to leave it there. Thank you so much for adding your voice to our show on a big tech news day. Appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you so much.
That's David Pogue. You can see him on CBS Sunday Morning, and he is the author of the book just released last month, Apple, The First 50 Years.
Canadian women are looking for more more out of themselves, their businesses, their elected leaders, and the world around them.
And that's why we're thrilled to introduce the Honest Talk podcast.
I'm Jennifer Stewart.
And I'm Catherine Clark. And in this podcast, we interview Canada's most inspiring women.
Entrepreneurs, artists, athletes, politicians, and newsmakers, all at different stages of their journey.
So if you're looking to connect, then we hope you'll join us.
Listen to the Honest Talk podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to your podcasts.